approaches from the non-Western world on their own terms and applying them not only locally but also in other contexts, including the larger global settings. Third, global IR subsumes rather than supplants existing IR knowledge, including the theories, methods, and scientific claims that we are already familiar with. I fully recognize that IR theories are hardly monolithic or unchanging when it comes to dealing with the non-Western world. Some theories, especially post-colonialism and feminism, have been on the forefront of efforts to recognize events, issues, agents, and interactions outside the West and drawing theoretical insights from them to enrich the study of IR. Realism, always ahead of liberalism, in drawing insights from the non-Western world, has added new variants like subaltern realism, neoclassical realism, defensive realism. These have rendered realism more relevant to the non-Western world. Constructivism has been especially important in opening space for scholarship on the non-Western world because of its stress on culture and identity. Increasing trends towards economic interdependence, multilateral institutions, and democratization, which are pathways to order that liberalism identifies and prescribes, also makes that theory potentially more applicable to the non-Western world. But at the same time, global IR does not leave mainstream theories like realism, liberalism, and constructivism at ease. Instead, it urges them to rethink their assumptions and broaden the scope of their investigation. For realism, the challenge is to look beyond conflicts induced by national interest and distribution of power and acknowledge other determinants of agency, including culture, ideas, and norms that make states and civilizations not just clash, but also embrace and learn from each other. For liberals, there is a similar challenge to look beyond American hegemony as a starting point of investigating multilateralism and regionalism and their institutional forms. Liberalism also needs to acknowledge the significant variations in cooperative behavior that do exist in different local contexts, such that no single model of integration or interaction can account for all or most of them. For constructivism, taking stock of different forms of agency in the creation and diffusion of ideas and norms remains a challenge. Fourth, to have global IR as the name of a field or designation of a field doesn't diminish the importance of regions or regional groups, as well as the contribution of area studies. Indeed, global IR gives center stage to regions. While the world is not being fragmented into regions, it is also not moving inexorably towards a seamless globality. Regions are no longer viewed as fixed physical, cartographic, or cultural entities, but as dynamic, purposeful, and socially constructed spaces. Regionalism today is less territorially based or state-centric and encompasses an ever-increasing range of actors and issues. The traditional divide between regionalism and universalism may be breaking down. And the study of regions is not just about how regions self-organize themselves of their economic, political, and cultural space, but also about how they relate to each other in shaping global order. In addition, focusing on regions is central to forging a close integration between disciplinary approaches and area studies. Fifth, a truly global IR cannot be based on cultural exceptionalism and parochialism. Exceptionalism is the tendency to present the characteristics of a social group as homogeneous, collectively unique, and superior to those of others. Claims about exceptionalism are frequently questionable, not just because of the cultural and political diversity within nations or regions. Such claims are also frequently associated with the political agendas and purposes of the ruling elite, as evident in a concept such as Asian values or Asian human rights or Asian democracy, which are rightly associated with authoritarianism. Similarly, exceptionalism in IR often often justifies the dominance of the big powers over the weak. American exceptionalism, seemingly benign and popular at home, can be associated with the Monroe Doctrine and its self-serving interventionism. One strand of Japan's pre-war Pan-Asian discourse, which is founded upon the idea of Asia for Asians, also illustrates this tendency. And today, efforts to invoke the Chinese tributary system as the basis of a Chinese school of IR is pregnant with such possibilities. While the development of national schools of IR can broaden and enrich the discipline, if based mainly on exceptionalism, it is a challenge to the possibility of global IR. Finally, global IR takes a broad conception of agency. Not so long ago, agency in international relations was viewed primarily in terms of a standard of civilization in which the decisive element was the capacity of states to defend their sovereignty, wage war, negotiate treaties, enforce compliance, and manage the balance of power. This self-serving ahistorical formulation by the European colonial powers ignored the fact that the most sophisticated forms of statecraft were present in many early non-Western civilizations. While the mainstream IR theories viewed the so-called Third World or Global South as marginal to the games that nations play, some of the critical theories actually thrived on this presumed marginality. They rightly criticized the mainstream theories for excluding the South, but did little exploration of the alternative forms of agency in the South, because recognizing such agency might risk undermining a central part of their narrative. While global disparities in material power are not going to disappear, we need to take a broader view of agency in international relations, going beyond military power and wealth. Agency is both material and ideational. Agency is not the prerogative of the strong, it can also manifest as a weapon of the weak. Agency can be exercised in global transnational space as well as at regional and local levels. Agency can take multiple forms. It can describe acts of resistance to and localization of global norms and institutions. Agency also means constructing new rules and institutions at the local level to support and strengthen global law order against great power hypocrisy and dominance. Agency means conceptualizing and implementing new pathways to development, security, and ecological justice. Let me offer a few quick examples. Sovereignty was redefined and broadened at the Asia-Africa Conference in Bandung in 1955. Africa created a form of regionalism to maintain post-colonial boundaries. India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, was the first to propose nuclear test ban. Some of these acts of agency are not just to specific regions or for the global South itself only, but are important for global governance as a whole. Recent research shows that non-Western countries played a major role in crafting Bretton Woods institutions and the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, as well as global disarmament norms. The idea of human development and human security were pioneered by South Asian development economists. The idea of responsibility to protect, usually attributed to a Canadian-sponsored commission, owes to the concept of responsible sovereignty, which was developed under Francis Day, who is an African diplomat and analyst, who was generalizing also partly from the African context. From climate change negotiations, we see the developing countries offering the idea of common but differentiated responsibility norm. Using this broad framework of agency, we can find that the South has a voice, that the subaltern can indeed speak and act, even if IR theories do not recognize it. The idea of global IR gives a central place to the voices and agency of the South, to Southern perspectives in global order, and to the changing dynamics of North-South relations. Lack of time and space precludes me from giving more detailed illustration of how global IR approach might shape research. In the published version of my speech, I will elaborate, which will come out in International Studies Quarterly, I will elaborate on this theme further. But now, in this few moments I have left, I urge scholars of global IR to pay attention to this. Discover new patterns and theories and methods from world histories. Analyze changes in the distribution of power and ideas after 500 years of Western dominance. Explore regional worlds in their full diversity and interconnectedness. Engage with subjects and methods that require deep and substantial integration of disciplinary and area studies knowledge. Examine how ideas and norms circulate between global and local levels. Investigate how civilizations learn from each other, learn from rather than class with each other. There is plenty of historical evidence of mutual learning among civilizations. In its well-known 1963 speech, commencement speech at my university, the American University in Washington, D.C., President John F. Kennedy said, if we cannot end our differences, at least we can help make the world safe for diversity. 3 decades later, Nelson Mandela echoed Kennedy by committing himself to the promotion of institutions and forces that through democratic means seek to make the world safe for diversity. The study of international relations should not obscure, but celebrate the differences among its different theoretical, epistemological, and methodological approaches. But in so doing, it should also strive for greater respect for diversity in our knowledge sources and claims, historical experiences, beliefs, and approaches about world order. The challenge is not just to make the study of IR safe for diversity, but also be enriched by that diversity. My fellow members of ISI, the IR of Sahibs and Munshis is over. The time for global IR has come. At the New Orleans Convention in 2015, I invite you to debate the project of global IR and help move our discipline to a new frontier. I express my deep sense of gratitude to all of you for giving me this chance to lead our organization at this momentous time of challenge and change. Thank you very much.
Few videos and pictures.